Please understand I am just trying to look for answers instead of fighting. If anyone has any solutions to add, I would love to hear them. Please, can we talk about race and for once just try to work for solutions instead of fighting about it? We are constantly divided and conquered. Let's try and let love win over hate so we can come together and fix things.
What's up, everyone? So, I always try and look for solutions in this world to the many problems that we now face. Instead of complaining, I look for any answer that I can. And this issue that I'm going to try and cover this time is another really difficult one. Racism. Powers that be are pushing racism on purpose, and they look at any little thing they can and try and divide us any way they can, whether it's race, religion, or sexuality. Those are the three ones they try to divide us on the most, and those are the three that people get fired up the most about. And it's fair because that's who you are, and you can't help who you are in this world. And we should all have the freedom to do our own thing, and we should all be equal in this world, and that should be the end of it. So from there, we just have to realize that a lot of what is being presented to us is deliberate to divide us, and we have to try and break down that mentality and just come together. And instead of fighting all the time, just come together and put our arms around each other and work for solutions. And that's what I'm trying to do, is get everybody from opposite sides of the table to sit down together and peacefully work for solutions. I have a forum set up to where we can do it. And I'm asking anybody out there to please sit down with me and just work for any kind of solution we can find to this. But one of the easiest ways to break down racism right now is just flip it on the other side, and whatever the opposite side is that you're pushing for. If you're saying, if you want something for just one side or the other, replace the word, black with white or white with black, and see what it sounds like. And if you don't like the way it sounds, if you replace the word white or black with the opposite, and you don't like the way it sounds, it might kind of be racist, and that's just the way it is.
I can't control what my ancestors did. I have absolutely no power over what happened in the past. It's something I can't control at all and had no part of. Just like we can't control what color we were born, we can't control what our ancestors did. I can tell you I try with all I can to love everyone, and that's all I can do. We have no control over what color we were born, and to me, it's just like a roll of the dice. It's what you do with your life and who you are that matters.
I've been a broke white male most of my life, and I think from looking around, that's a majority of the problem is the poverty, and anybody in poverty is gonna struggle more. And it's just if you look at the numbers of poverty versus like prison populations and stuff like that, you'll see that it's not necessarily as much as an issue of race as it is of poverty. And when you bring poverty into the mix instead of just color and start factoring in the numbers that way, you get a whole different scientific outcome and a whole different end at the end. Everything is different because your variables are different. And that's what I'm saying, is that the powers that be can manipulate science, manipulate numbers to do whatever they want if they deliberately leave out variables. At the end of it all, I have never owned a black person. I have never been a part of that system. I have never done any of the things that anybody should hate me for, and I don't want to be hated for that. I haven't done anything wrong. And after all of this, I think that we should just quit talking about it and put our arms around each other and just work for a brighter future. And I think that the more we focus on it, the more it becomes an issue. And anytime you bring up black man, white man, or black or white, or throw a color into it and throw a label on it, it immediately creates division. And Morgan Freeman said, if you want to stop racism, stop talking about it. I think that's a great philosophy, just stop bringing it up and quit making it an issue, and just try and go on from there. So that's my solution, is to try and just put our arms around each other, sit down together, and figure out how we can overcome the problems that be. And generational poverty is a major thing that is so hard to overcome. And from there, qualified immunity is a big problem too. And that's where the police can do whatever they want. And the system uses qualified immunity, and the facts cops can do whatever they want as a tool to just put under microscope certain scenarios and manipulate them and twist them the way they want to turn it into a racist scenario. And I'm not saying that there isn't racist cops and that things like this happen. I'm saying that that is not the majority of what things happen, and that's not the way things are, but they can put it under a microscope and twist it however they want. And they use the media and television as a tool to achieve their desired outcome of more division. And that is a problem. And the fundamental basis that allows this to happen is qualified immunity, and that's where the police can do what they want and get away with it. It's a legal thing where they're allowed to do that. And it's not just happening in black neighborhoods, it's happening in white neighborhoods, and it's happening everywhere all across this country, but it's ignored and shoved under the rug, and they pretend like the system's perfect and everything's fine, but they'll keep us fighting and manipulated by hating each other, and keeps them in power and keep it a race issue instead of ever having to fix the system or acknowledge it's flawed, because that's how they keep their power, is by manipulating the system. So instead of acknowledging it's flawed, they keep us hating each other. But what would they do if we stopped hating each other and instead put our arms around each other and loved each other? They would be screwed, and then from there we could just peacefully work out solutions. So yeah, that's basically where I'm at. One final thought that I want to bring up is that when it comes to race, what is race? I mean, what is one race or the other? You know, and if Black Lives Matter or White Lives Matter or any of this color that comes into effect, I'm sorry people, but when you break it down, we're all just a bunch of mutts. We're all just a bunch of mutts from a different lineage. And we don't even know what's going on in this world or how it all works or where we came from. We are still learning so much daily. I'm going to go way down a fun rabbit hole. This is my own personal rabbit hole. It's what I've just kind of learned and believed in my life from just things I've seen. So this is a fun little one. So when you talk about a black man or a white man, where does he become a black man or a white man? Is it if he's just all black? But if he's part black, is he still a black man? If a white man's white and he's just a small part something else, is he still white? Or is he a black man, or is he Mexican or anything like that? So then you become based on percentages. So is your standard going to be, well, that guy's not white because he's only 72% white, or that guy's not black because he's only 57% black? That suddenly begins to make no sense whatsoever. That doesn't make any sense. So where is your standard on how all of this works? What if a person has 25% black in them and they don't even look black at all, or 25% white in them and they don't look white at all? And it's just a line that you can't tell. And for me, I have a little bit different set of beliefs just from looking at history and the way things are. There's a place called Cahokia outside of St. Louis in Missouri, right here, that in 1000 AD they had the biggest population almost in the entire world, but bigger than anywhere in Europe in 1000 AD. So you got to think, Christopher Columbus was here in 1492 when he discovered America. Yeah, that's a fun story. Now think about it, 500 years before that, we had the biggest civilization, bigger than anything in Europe. St. Louis, the Cahokia Mountains outside of St. Louis, was bigger than any city in Europe. So London or St. Louis, which was bigger in 1000 AD? Look it up. I promise you what I'm saying is the truth. In 1000 AD, Cahokia was larger than anywhere in England. It was larger than London. It was larger than anywhere. St. Louis was bigger than England in 1000 AD. Look it up. Look it up. Another fun fact, they don't know how those people got there. There's a whole civilization, and in 1000 AD, there were 20,000 people there. And so they didn't just snap their fingers and get there. They had been there for a minute. They had been there for thousands of years. Where did they come from? Nobody knows. Science doesn't know. History doesn't know. UNESCO, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and they don't know. They have theories and speculation, but they haven't figured it out for sure where they're guaranteed, at least as far as I've been able to find. And there's even placards there that I've taken pictures of on the site there at the place that shows you, that says they don't know where they came from. And you can go check the mountains. There's hundreds of them, and you can go walk around them, and it's almost like pyramids in St. Louis right now. And you can go walk around them and So, my personal theory is, if you look at the timetables and the way everything works, the Egyptians, when they were fleeing from the Romans and all that stuff, they had the ability to cross seas there, and they had the ability to go up the Nile and go up rivers and stuff. So they're like, screw it, we're sending out that way. We're getting the hell away from these people because they're out to get us, and they're kind of winning this war, and we're bailing out. We're peacing out. We're just going to go across the ocean and see what's over there. And my theory is that they came down through the Gulf of Mexico and tried to hide inland as far as they could, and they went up the Mississippi River and came up the Mississippi River, which would be just like the Nile over there for them, and settled in Cahokia, which is St. Louis, and just settled there and built civilizations for thousands of years. And like I said, in 1000 AD, they were bigger than anywhere in England, bigger than London. And so, full circle, what does that mean? That means that, I mean, to me, this is in my own crazy personal thought and theory and stuff, but that means, because nobody knows at this point, so all we can do is try and figure out. So me, if the Egyptians were the ones that came here, and nobody knows, but my personal thoughts are that they were, that Native Americans came from Indians, or Native Americans came from Egyptians. And if you look at the skin of Native Americans and how they look a lot like Egyptians. Like, there's a lot of resemblance to a Native American to an Egyptian. And if you look at their religion, they worship the earth and all these other things, and it's not really that far away from the Egyptian, the way they worship stuff. And it's just, and then there's other things like supposedly the Grand Canyon. There's ancient ruins there. I'm not going to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but there's a lot of interesting stuff there. And then there's like all the pyramids, you know, Machu Picchu. There's a snake out in Ohio. There's just all kinds of stuff all over around here that suggests that ancient civilizations have been here for a long time. So the thought that Christopher Columbus came here and discovered this is just, it's insanity, and it shows how much we've been brainwashed as a country to just believe this whole thought, you know. And you don't even think about the fact that the largest civilization in 1000 AD almost in the world was here. Like, there were places in China and stuff that were bigger, but definitely bigger than England. The place that discovered us, we were already bigger than them in 1000 AD. So, yeah, that's just basically my thoughts on the whole matter, which would lead, okay, so I guess that's where I was with the Indians or Native Americans and the Egyptians. So the Egyptians, for those that don't know, Egypt is in Africa. So all Egyptians are Africans technically. And if the Egyptians came over here and went up the Mississippi River and settled Cahokia, they would have bred, and all the Native Americans in this country would be of Egyptian heritage, which means they would be of African American heritage, just a little different color, a little different style. And so my direct ancestors are Native Americans. I have Native American blood flowing through me massively. Like, my dad's grandma was 100% Native American. It might have been his great grandma, but I'm pretty sure it was his grandma, was 100% Native American, like full-blooded 100% absolute Native American. And that's my direct lineage. And so I am like 1/32nd Native American, which, if, like my theory states, the Native Americans came from Egypt, that means I'm 1/32nd African American. And that means that I'm African American too, even though I look like just a big, huge white boy. You know, here I am being still partially Native American in my blood. And at that point, we got to realize that we're all just kind of mutts. We're all just different bloods from different lineages, and that we're just in these walking me suits, and we have no control over where we came from or how we got here. And our family lines and ancestors are all just mixed up, and none of this matters. And the race and the color, and none of that has any significance or matter whatsoever. We didn't control it. There's nothing to be proud or ashamed of or anything. It's just a roll of the dice on what the universe gave us. That's like having blue eyes or blonde hair or whatever. I mean, we're not proud of that or anything. I mean, to an extent, we're like, oh, it's cool. We got blue eyes or brown eyes or whatever color we want. And usually you won't wish you had the other, but it's, I don't know, it's just weird. Point of it all is,